Good evening and welcome. Good evening. My name is Ruth Benny and I'm from Top Scores, and I'm delighted this evening to be hosting Oxbridge School, Hong Kong. So welcome to everyone who's registered for the Zoom webinar. We're also live on Facebook as well. You're welcome to ask questions as we go along, and we'll try to make this interactive as interactive as possible. So I'm so excited to be working with Oxbridge School Hong Kong. We love a project, and this is a school that has got so many appealing features that is really, I think, needed in the market today. And so here to tell you all about it, may I welcome John Schuter, Principal of Oxbridge School Hong Kong. Evening, John.
Good evening, Ruth, and thank you for that lovely welcome. And I'm delighted to see so many people attend our webinar. I hope we can answer their questions.
Indeed, lots of questions have been flowing in and lots of interest. So I would like to begin, John. May I just ask you to introduce a little bit about yourself and the school?
Okay, well, let me tell you about myself first of all. I've been in education all my life. I attended a boarding school in England, then went to university, started doing some teaching when I was at university and found I really enjoyed this. I want to have a career in teaching. And after university, I applied for my first teaching post, which was way back in 1990. Goodness me, a long time ago. But it means I've got a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge of education, I hope. So I started teaching in 1990 in Wales at a school called Christ College, Brecon. And then I followed the career path of progression through teaching posts, became head of department. I was a boarding house master for 8 years, a director. And my career in schools continued right through until something like 2010. At that point, I was engaged as an education consultant and stayed in education, but I actually worked for the America's Cup organization in San Francisco, directing the education events there. Alongside that, I operated around the world as an education consultant, advising schools on setup and development and curriculum issues. So that's my teaching career. I was headhunted for Oxbridge School 2 years ago and immediately attracted to the project. I've worked in Hong Kong before. I love Hong Kong. I love to be here. So, of course, I had a natural affinity with that. Alongside my teaching, I've done a lot of examination, inspection, accreditation. I've been an examiner since the mid-90s. I still enjoy doing that. And that's in academic subjects. But I should have said when I was at university, my first subject was music. So I read music at Cambridge. I was good at that. Gained a scholarship to Cambridge to read music. So I studied music and played a lot of rugby and sport, sailing and things like that. So quite active there. So I've continued the sailing throughout my life, and I've continued the music. The music is a passion, but I've had a lot of opportunities to play music and engage. I examine for ABRSM, which is an international music organization, and I still do a little bit of that. But of course, being principal of starting a school does take up most of my time. Leisure pursuits, sailing. I'm a keen cyclist. I've got a Brompton fold-up bicycle, so you'll see me on the MTR heading off to Taipo and cycling up hills and freewheeling quite fast downhill. So that's a sort of sum up of my life.
Very comprehensive. Thank you so much. And we'll get into the music program because I think that's something very distinctive about the new school and the offering. So again, just briefly, can you give us the highlights of the what, where, when, and how of Oxbridge School Hong Kong?
Well, the initial seed was sown by one of our directors. She has a young daughter who was looking for a school, and her daughter liked to learn in a small environment, small classes, and found the larger classes back then, pre-COVID, the larger classes of Hong Kong schools quite intimidating. And this lady was determined to do something about that. So she gathered together a group of interested people, her friends, investors from the UK, from Hong Kong, and from China, and set about creating a school that would be small. It would have just 15 pupils in each class, and we're adamant about that. We'll only ever have 15 students in each class, so we can really personalize the learning. So that was the beginning of the journey. That was perhaps 2 years ago. In the meantime, we've been securing a site and finding our campus, of course, applying for our license.
Never easy.
Never easy, never easy. But we found a really good place. We're very happy there and enjoying, furnishing our new school. And we've been working very, very hard. We've come to the point now where we've completed all the paperwork, and we're ready to engage with students and parents and the education community of Hong Kong and then find our niche and our place here.
Yeah. So we should be clear that the site is in Hong Kong. And how would you describe the site, John?
Well, we're very committed to a small school size. We want to be a small school. We don't want to be a big school that has to be small. We are a small school. We want to keep that atmosphere. So we deliberately looked for a smallish building. We don't want people getting lost in corridors or open spaces. So we have 2 floors of a building. We have the ground floor and the first floor. The ground floor has street access. We've got a new library learning hub there, a reception, a dining room, and then you got the stairs, internal stairs to the first floor where all our classrooms are. The building itself, we've completely refurbished. We've designed the space, designed the classrooms to provide the best learning experience for young primary age students.
Yeah, I've visited several times, and along the different stages of construction, so it's almost really ready. And
yes.
And it's a light, bright, it's a modern building, and the location is extremely accessible. Right in the middle of Hong Kong. So you will be running school tours, are running school tours for any parents who would like to go and visit the site. What would you say, we have had some questions and we should address them. What would you say that, it's not a purpose-built school building and it lacks some of those big fancy facilities. How would you respond to that?
Well, we all know a bit of a cliche, but there's the people that matter. Primarily getting good people and good students and engaging. I would say our premises, I agree, that they're not purpose-built, but they are spacious. We've designed them carefully to make the most of our space. Our classrooms are comfortable, bright. They've all got large windows. We've an incredible amount of light in our school, and it's an attractive place to be. So I think people will be pleasantly surprised by our school, and I think our students will really enjoy being there. We're trying to make it a fun and happy place.
Yeah, and thank you to Lillian, who's follow-on question from that. Since it does lack outdoor space, what's your plan for the arrangement for PE lessons and swimming lessons, etc.?
Yes, well, PE lessons, we're arranging to take our students off-site. We're going to use a local sports centre which has excellent facilities. And we'll take our students. Our students will be accompanied by a sports coach and their form tutor that they go along in small groups. We'll have our own school minibus to transport them there. So there's no inconvenience. In fact, it's a better arrangement because we get the exceptional facilities of a sports centre and all that goes with that.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon these days, as we all know. Hong Kong is extremely for one, lacks space for a new school building, but equally we have everything very easily accessible. Plenty of ESF schools do exactly the same. Let's get into, thank you for all the questions. I will try to organise them as best I can. Let's get into talking a little bit about the curriculum, John. So Oxbridge, as the name would imply, is a British school. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the logic behind and how that's going to be implemented. And if you could, your video's gone off, but
I'm sorry. It's some glitch there. I can hear you. Sorry, I'll just see if I can find what I need for that. Here we are. Is that?
There we go.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Technical hitch. Okay, I think something. Okay,
did you hear the question?
No, would you mind repeating that, please, Ruth?
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about the curriculum, the British curriculum, why and how.
Well, all of the curriculum have strengths and weaknesses, and they're all suitable for primary students. But we particularly like the British national curriculum because it's a structured curriculum. There are waypoints along the way that let us measure progress of students. And they're defined at the end of each key stage. So key stage is years 1 and 2. There's an assessment, a test, but also teacher assessment. And then at the end of key stage 2, which is the end of our year 6, there's another assessment. So we can measure exactly the progress of our students on a larger scale through the years, but also through the key stages. And we can compare with other schools, the progress of our school. So that's very informative. Of course, along the way, our teachers will be doing summative and formative assessments all the time. And what we also like with the English national curriculum is that it emphasizes phonics. As a musician, I'm very interested in sounds. And phonics is something that I'm passionate about, and that we really know that students who understand phonics and can pronounce the letters, can read the letters, and can read the code of these objects on the page make tremendous progress. And the national curriculum recognises that at the end of year 1, there's a phonics test. I'm sure you know this, but for those who don't, the student is given a list of 40 words to read out to the teacher. And those words, some of them real words, some of them are made up words, which the student can't know. But that gives us a very good indication of where the student is on that journey of learning. So we like all those waypoints in the national curriculum. We like the content of the national curriculum. We like that it's structured, has a good progression. And we like that it develops inquiring minds. It's not about gaining knowledge so much as enabling our students to find the information and, just as importantly, to know what to do with that information. We want to help create lifelong learners. Knowledge, perhaps you can find on the internet if you want to find something out, but it's how you use that knowledge. It's how you research it, how you judge it, how you value it. Those are the skills we want our students to have. And the British national curriculum allows the platform, the skeleton, to sort of frame all that. So we're very pleased. We are a British school. The other thing about the British national curriculum is that it's recognised internationally. It's been around quite a while. And at the end of Oxbridge School, when students are looking to go on to other places, of course, they know exactly where they are. If students went on to the UK, for instance, they could place themselves straight away into a UK school.
Yeah, thank you, John. So you've touched on secondary school, and we will get to that. And let's just clarify for everyone listening. You're talking about year 1 to key stages 1, 2. We can put up a chart later on, but we're talking about year 1 is 5 years old. So that is for any parents with children born in 2016 would be entering into year 1 in 2021. I'm correct, right?
Yes.
and so on, and up to year 6, and then we can talk about secondary later on. Which phonics program will Oxbridge be using, John?
We're going to use RWI, which is Read Write Incorporated. There are several phonics programs, and they're all good. We like RWI because of the way that as you progress through later on, it blends the writing and the reading. So it's quite an immersive experience. So yes, RWI.
Thank you for your question. And someone's asked about teachers, and this is such a crucial part of the software of the school. So could you tell us a bit about the teachers that you're looking at bringing in?
Well, I'm pleased to say that we've recruited some good teachers. What do I look for in a teacher? Well, I'm looking for some experience. I'm not looking for newly qualified teachers in a new school. I'm looking for experienced teachers who've taught the British national curriculum. I'm looking for teachers who want to stay with us for a time. They're the facts, but the personality is the key thing. And I'm looking for teachers who are going to engage with our students and communicate their love for their subject. That's the most important thing, that sparkle in their eye, that the children are going to enjoy those lessons and progress and want to progress and enjoy learning. Go ahead.
Is it, I mean, someone's asked where do the teachers come from, and this is interesting, something that we've seen in the past. You know, obviously a teacher who's coming straight out from the UK is going to contribute in a different way to a teacher who's got some experience in Asia, particularly in Hong Kong, preferably in Hong Kong.
That's right. Well, I've actually recruited and signed up, if that's the correct term, signed up 4 teachers already, and their biographies will be on our website this weekend. 2 of those teachers are from the UK, so we'll be travelling here and bringing those skills and with them. So we're delighted to see those. But I've also recruited teachers from within Hong Kong, and I'm interviewing more teachers next week. You know, education in Hong Kong is a unique proposition.
And this year is a unique
year. Well, quite.
So, it is worth saying, I think, that, and someone said, where do they come from? I think that this year in particular, bringing teachers out directly from the UK might be fraught with challenges. And so luckily, I mean, there's plenty of qualified British teachers in Asia already.
Yes, I have to say that, you know, there is quite a stream of teachers, which has surprised me during COVID. I didn't expect quite the response, but we've got a good stream from, you know, of teachers applying to work at our school. Yes.
Let's get on to talking about, I just want to stay with the curriculum for a little bit more. I want to ask you a little about, you've mentioned phonics, and I want to ask you a little bit about the maths program that's going to be used alongside that provided by the English National Curriculum, and also, always a popular topic, the Chinese program. So shall we tackle maths first?
Yes, well, we've got our maths curriculum set up. We're using a platform there. It's, I'll come back to, I've forgotten his name.
White Rose Maths.
That's right. You know better than me. White Rose. That's awful, isn't it? The Yorkshireman as well. But anyway, I forget a name like that. We use that system, which is effective and I'm familiar with. So yes, we know that mathematics, of course, is very important. We want to make sure that our students do well in that. And of course, it's a core subject in our national curriculum.
And how is it tested? Because I just want to sort of draw a little bit of a comparison here with the PYP program, which is overwhelmingly, predominantly what's offered by international and other private schools in Hong Kong. And you know, a common comment is that, you know, let's take a year 3 child. I mean, as a parent, you don't necessarily know where he or she is in terms of maths. Have they mastered addition? Have they mastered subtraction, and so on? And so how is it different in the British system?
Okay, well, of course, in the British National Curriculum, at the end of year 2, there is a formal assessment of mathematics, and there is a test, and there is, you know, grading. Are they working to the level or exceeding the level? So there is a measurement there that we have from year 2. So your year 3 student will have a starting point that our teachers know about. And then, of course, during the lessons, the formative, summative assessments, our own internal examinations that will take place according to the needs of the programme. So yes, we'll have pinpoint accuracy on where they are in the mathematics learning spectrum.
Yeah, I think that's such a benefit, really. I mean, if I remember when my children were younger, I mean, they're older now and it's more complicated, but having that quantitative feedback on where your children are in something like maths and English is so valuable. Shall we touch on the Chinese program?
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
So are we doing traditional or simplified characters?
Well, that's the first question. You know, I've been asked that question so many times just in the past few weeks. Well, okay, controversial topic, but we are going to do simplified Chinese. Why are our, sorry, I'm just going to remove that. What are our reasons for simplified Chinese? Well, it's the predominant form in China, and our students will need to communicate with China wherever they are in the world. They will need communication, understand communication in China. The simplified form, the handwriting, it's faster and more easy to actually do. So our students won't get frustrated by trying to complete the handwriting. Most publications are in Simplified Chinese. So I know that there's a strong desire for traditional Chinese in Hong Kong, but I think we're looking a little bit more widely at that. Just one more point, Ruth. The Chinese classes, we're going to have 4 50-minute lessons a week for each class, and there'll be a split of Chinese, learning the language, but also we want our students to find out about Chinese culture. It's a fascinating culture. We want to introduce the whole concept. The class itself, each class will be split because there will, of course, be some students who already have a knowledge of Chinese. So we will split the class to accommodate beginners and those a little bit more advanced.
Yeah, it's such a complicated and sensitive topic. I mean, thank you for the questions. If you've got particular questions about Chinese, then do type in the questions, but you have to make a decision on that. And so the decision is simplified characters with using Mandarin as a spoken form, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I've launched a poll, and just a bit late to the, sorry, I forgot to do it earlier on. Yeah, we've got a mix of ages of people who are watching. The vast majority are 2016, 15, 13, and 14. So primary school age. So that's good news. And I've got another poll also. We're going to talk about secondary school. Before we do, another question about no Cantonese lessons for Chinese class. Thank you for your question. It's not offered in any of the international or private schools offering an international curriculum, as far as I know. But there's no Cantonese, right, John?
No Cantonese.
No, it's just, I mean, for Lillian, thank you for asking the question. For Cantonese, then presumably we know that a lot of families will be native in Cantonese. That's their home first language. And so it's not needed, it's not taught as a formal part of the curriculum in international schools. While we're on just this technical point about international school, John, should we talk about the mix of students and sort of how the regulations will work in regards to passports of international students?
Well, we'll be registered as a private school, which is a little bit different to international. So we don't have a quota for our entry. So we are literally open to all students who want to come to our school. Yeah,
it's a really important point. So quite different from some of the other international schools. What is the Chinese 4 lessons a week, and how many will be language focused if some are going to be focused on culture? Is that 4 language lessons a week?
In our school, we'll have 4 50-minute lessons a week, Chinese. And those lessons will be split. I think the whole 50 minutes, we'll probably spend half on culture, finding out about China, and then half on the practical aspects of learning the language.
Okay. We're running out of time really fast. I wonder how I can launch. I had a second poll which was talking about secondary school, because before you even open a primary school, we know that parents of children with babies are already thinking about the next stage. So Oxbridge is a primary school, and could you talk us through what the plans are for when the students would leave?
Well, we're a primary school from years 1 to 6, and that's what we are at the moment. We're ambitious, so that there might be more than that. But at the moment, we want to guide our students to the best secondary school for them, that will recognise our students for their abilities and what they can bring to that new school. So I'm very happy, and my staff will be, to advise students on the best school for them. You know, we know with our experience and contacts, we know the other schools in Hong Kong and internationally. And so we'll give guidance to our students, and careful guidance to parents about that important choice. So that's where we are.
And I did launch the poll. We have majority of people are thinking they would stay in Hong Kong for secondary school, but very closely followed by a group of parents who would be considering the UK for secondary school. And that makes sense if you're considering a British primary school.
Yes.
So, but what would be your advice to parents? I mean, most of our parents are sort of, you know, their children are 5 and 6 and 7 years old. Is it too early to be thinking about secondary school?
Is it too early to be thinking about secondary school? Well, I think that the children's development in the primary school is very rapid, and that they'll start to think about directions they want to take. You'll find out more about their aptitude, their learning ability, and the essential thing is to find the right secondary school. So I'd approach it from a different way. I would look at your child, think, okay, what's the aptitude? What is the strength? Which school offers the best at this? Which school will stretch my child? It might be some particular aptitude, such as sporting or musical or creative, but it might be that your child needs a particular type of tuition to get the best, make them the best that they can be. And you might find that in a school. So I would not just buy a brand or a school because it has the best facilities. I would look at the things that are taught and whether it's suitable for your child. It's a very big decision at secondary school. We want to help as much as we can.
Yeah. Okay, a couple more questions just before we end. We need to talk about the English as a second language program, which is very interesting, and I think it's almost a unique design. Not absolutely unique, but very, very interesting. How you're going to do that? Can you talk us through?
Well, when you set up a new business, you do your research and find out about your audience, your customers, in our case, our students and their parents. And of course, we're finding out that there's a big demand, we hope, for our education. We feel it's out there. But there will be students who come to our school who English is a second language for. And of course, we want to help them gain skills in English. And the way that we do that is we're going to have two separate streams. We'll have a year one class with English national curriculum taught by an English national curriculum teacher and a teaching assistant. And then we'll also have a year one class English national curriculum taught by an English national curriculum teacher, but accompanied by a full-time ESL teacher. So it makes sure that those children with English as a second language can progress in the English national curriculum right from year one. And that will continue into year two, so that children who join us from kindergartens will come in and find that, yes, we support English as a second language while still teaching the English national curriculum. So we have a dual stream entry. We hope that by year two and into year three, that the classes will combine. And our ultimate aim is that at the end of year six, when students leave our school, they'll be fluent in English. They'll be immersed in English through our curriculum, through our teaching.
Right, but in reality, I mean, it'll be at the end of that year, right? If you take a young child and put them in an immersion program aged 5 or 6, it doesn't take very long.
No, young minds are so receptive to learning, and I've looked at other schools, and other programs similar to this, and you're right. It's by the end of the first year or so, that children can pick this up. But we want to make sure of that, and we're sort of ensuring ourselves as well, but making sure that children are comfortable in English and can speak and pronounce the words, understand the words, become fluent.
I think it's so interesting. It's such a demand, that children might be attending a local kindergarten, and their English maybe, could be quite good, could be quite not very good at all. But there's not going to be any requirements in that sense, and no obstacle to entry. Got a question about the Canadian curriculum. If the parent is considering a Canadian secondary school, would it make sense for them to transition from a British primary school into Canadian secondary school? Are you familiar with Canadian, John? I'm not.
Well, that's an interesting question. I'm afraid I can't give you a detailed answer on that. We'd have to research that a little bit.
Angel. Yes. Yeah. I mean, in our experience, in what we do, primary school doesn't differ an awful lot, and I don't see any issues. I mean, if you think of plenty of children have transferred from ESF, from Canadian International School here in Hong Kong, which is an IB program, back to a Canadian system, there are no issues. But we will get back to you on that, Angel. Thank you for your question. We are running out of time. Shall we talk about inclusivity? So we've talked about the Chinese program, the maths program, the phonics program, the ESL program. How about for children who might have some individual learning needs?
Yes, well, we want to be as much as we can, an inclusive school. So we'd like to see parents and children and talk to them about how we can facilitate their learning at Oxbridge School. So that is, a conversation that we'll need to have together. But we're open to it, and we want to support in any way, and if possible, certainly will.
Yeah. So, and what would be your advice to parents who are applying to the school, who are starting that conversation when clearly their children might have some needs?
I think tell us about it, and be open about it, and we'll be open with you and see what we can do. We're committed to full education and providing whatever we can, and if we can, we will do that.
Yeah. So one more question. I think we've covered it about assessment requirements on entry, and maybe the anonymous parent could clarify what age, but I'm going to assume for year one for the purpose of this.
So in year one, it's an informal assessment, and we also look at reports and interviews to gauge the student's ability in prior learning. So an informal assessment, that becomes a little bit more formal in later years, but year one would be an informal assessment based on reports, interviews, and meeting with parents and children.
Yeah, so nothing too onerous or strenuous.
Oh no,
or
no, not at all.
Actually, should we say?
No,
because
that's right.
And I think I just want to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we won't charge for the assessment. No, certainly not.
I mean, especially this year, with COVID rules and everything's changed, and some of the schools that have been operating on a very formal, rigid basis up till now. I mean, I think that one thing that we're working together is to really be very accessible and approachable and very open to having conversations with parents before you make any commitment whatsoever, because parents now have plenty of choice, and we want the parents to be choosing Oxbridge as much as Oxbridge is choosing your children. So it must be a more modern way of doing things.
Yes, it's a two-way conversation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think we are out of time. We are getting a few more questions. Thank you, Katrina, for your question, which we'll get to you. We'll answer privately, and also more questions about some of the things that we've covered and some of the things we've run out of time. Thank you so much, John, for spending the time. And we'll post a link. So if parents are interested in having a chat with you or coming to see the school, how can they do that?
Well, they can get in contact through our website. I'm very happy to meet people at the school with no commitment either side. I'm proud of our school. I want to show to people. I want people to talk about us and to get to know us. We might not be the right school for your child, but we'd like you to consider us, come and talk to us, and that'll be a mutually beneficial meeting.
Have a cup of tea and a scone.
Yes, we like our tea a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the parents for joining us live, and if you're watching this on a recording, again, thank you. You're welcome to get in touch with ourselves or with John with Oxbridge directly and their admissions team. Excuse me. We'll post all of the links, and I think for now that just remains for me to say thank you to John. Thank you to everyone, and have a good rest of the evening. Good night.
Okay, good night.